Coming into the spring season, I already knew the lineup was stacked with continuations. We have Konosuba Season 3, Mushoku Tensei Season 2 Part 2, Slime Season 3, and we even got another season of the incest at Magic High. But what I didn't expect was the new adaptations to hit the ground running. More specifically, this new anime called Windbreaker. I went into the show not knowing what to expect because I wasn't really familiar with the manga, and I was actually gonna skip it too if the studio working on it didn't catch my eye. And thank God that it did. Furin High is no ordinary school. It's known to attract delinquents of all kinds. Bleached hair, tattoos, broken homes, 16-year-olds that smoke cigarettes, and worst of all, femboys. Our boy Haruka Sakura falls into one of the categories I just listed. I'm not gonna say which one, you'll find out. He's the epitome of a main character, but I didn't have to tell you that. You could probably already tell he's a bit different from other people from his Todoroki half and half looking ass hair and eyes. And on top of that, he's a transfer student with an ego the size of Brazil. He was made to be a protagonist, so when he sees a woman about to be the star of the next Blacked video, non-consensually, he doesn't just step in, he steps up, and shows them that his hands were rated E for everyone. After he drops one of the hardest lines in anime, he starts walking away and the girl goes up to thank him. But in a story like this, there's no place for women, so he... This, ladies and gentlemen, is our hero, and he's a full-blown tsundere with all tsundere accessories included. Haruka has trouble accepting compliments because of his sad Naruto backstory we're all familiar with. So anytime anyone says anything remotely nice about him, he basically shits his pants. But even that won't stop the woman from thanking him and taking him back to a restaurant to feed him some omu rice, which is where he learns that the town of Furin was basically the Compton of Japan up until recently. Property was getting vandalized, people were getting jumped, and gangs ruled the streets, constantly having turf wars to fight for territory. But that's exactly why Haruka chose that town to go to school. Nobody would ever care what he looks like because nobody judges based on looks, they judge based on these hands. It's a cesspool of delinquents that have similar goals of wanting to prove that they're the strongest fighter in the school, and of course Haruka wants to do the same. Except, being the head of Furin High isn't exactly what he thought it was. It takes more than a skilled fighter to be the head. It requires sacrifice, hard work, dedication, commitment, and of course, community service? Bofurin is the name of the gang that all Furin High students are a part of, and they're a pretty chill gang with only one rule that everyone must abide by: to help the community, whether it be protecting it from the ops or helping to repaint over some graffiti.
Going into the show, I was prepared for something similar to Tokyo Revengers. You know, delinquents in gang life and how hard it could be to save a girl because you keep getting fucked up by literally everybody. Windbreaker is kinda like that, except take away the girls as major plot devices and replace Takemichi with a guy that actually knows how to throw hands and not just catch them. But the most significant difference is the main characters and how each anime approaches their growth. In Tokyo Revengers, the only thing growing are Takemichi's hospital bills because that boy cannot fight to save his life. He legitimately never gets better at fighting throughout the 3 seasons. He only gets better at tanking punches, which is probably one of the most disappointing things in the series because it's the one area everybody wanted to see him improve in, even if it was just by a little. Beyond the fighting though, he never really seems to change into a better version of himself. In the face of a 6'7", 255-pound benches 405 high school sophomore adversity, he always has the thought of backing down even though he just told himself he's not giving up no matter who stands in his way. Sure, he does actually stand up against them, but the fact that he doesn't beat them himself kinda cheapens his resolve because he just seems lucky that he got bailed out by someone else. Also, he whines and cries way too much for anyone to feel sorry for him anymore. Unlike Takemichi though, Haruka wants that smoke. He willingly throws himself into dangerous situations and passes out hands like Costco free samples. Not because he has some OP abilities, but to keep on improving his skills as a fighter so he can stand toe to toe with the best. And it serves as a constant reminder of what he came to this new school to do, which is absolutely some Andrew Tate top G alpha male psycho behavior, but that's what makes him interesting and a joy to watch. Haruka's growth in the anime is more of a mental one, but it doesn't mean it was subtle or hidden. He was socially isolated growing up because of the way he looks, and everyone labeled him as a delinquent, which he carried with him until this point. But now that he has to work with other members of Bofurin, his idea of cooperation and teamwork with other people is slowly starting to turn from a sign of weakness to a form of strength. But he still can't really grasp the idea of people having nice things to say about him, so he still turns beet red and starts shitting bricks. Now of course the story isn't triple S tier god mode hacks makes you ponder life for the next week levels of good, and it does have some head scratching flaws to it. Like Kotaha being the older sister character for Haruka and seemingly running her own damn restaurant, but for some reason, she's actually only 16 years old. Congratulations everyone, Japan has tricked us once again into becoming predators. Also, where the fuck are the police in any of this? Maybe it's just my extra chromosome acting up though, because I ignored those things and kinda like the direction the story is headed in, even though it is a bit predictable. It's not always dramatic and deep, and oftentimes there's humor right around the corner to lighten up the mood, which I always appreciate. As a person that hasn't read the manga and is going into the series blind, I always feel compelled and excited when another episode comes up because I don't know what element is going to be introduced to the plot next. But even if the story isn't objectively that great, when the animation and fight sequences are this amazing, you learn to ignore these kinds of things. The hand-to-hand combat is some of the best I've seen in anime, and that's all because of the stellar fight choreography. The flow of the action feels smooth, fluid, and more importantly, natural when these guys are throwing a combination of punches, kicks, and the occasional breakdancing moves. It's like they animated it straight out of an old Chinese kung fu movie where you can see every single move clearly and what impact it has on its opponent. I got a black eye just watching this. And the way the camera moves to get a better angle or change up the perspective gets me kinda hyped. The punches, the kicks, the grunts, the sound of the environment as people are getting thrown around left and right all have their appropriate places within the fight, which help you feel immersed like there's a story to be told just by guys going at it in whatever area they're in, whether it be the streets or in class. The funny thing I noticed about that is that there's actual adults in this world, unlike similar anime like Tokyo Revengers where adults are nowhere to be found at all. But in Windbreaker, they're not just NPCs filling up space, they're in the background cheering for these kids to beat the shit out of each other. I know that doesn't sound like a huge deal, and it really isn't, but it does come up when people complain about other anime that don't have these adults interacting with the situation.
It's small things like this that makes me enjoy this anime a lot. But let's not even play ourselves and ignore the fact that Studio Cloverworks is doing God's work in the animation department. With these types of delinquent fighting anime, the watchability of the show usually boils down to one thing and one thing only: how clean the animation is. If it's booty butt cheeks, it's not going to be as popular, but make it clean and consistent and there's a good chance any tubers will swarm to it like flies on a pile of shit. And with 5 episodes released as of recording, it's safe to say Windbreaker is looking to be that pile of shit. That's a good thing. This was the anime Tokyo Revengers was hyped up to be, so if that left a sour taste in your mouth, I would give Windbreaker a chance to redeem the genre for you because it's a bit different from the rest. The main character can be the most masculine person in the room, yet also be the most feminine. The mood could be super tense and serious in one scene, and then be goofy in the next. The story might be a bit predictable, but the animation still makes it fun to watch. I have a feeling the anime will only get better from here on out, and I'm excited to watch our boy Haruka grow as he goes from loner to local hero.